Thank you all. Council, we may continue the proceedings. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome back, RSM Jang. I hope that you had a good break. Please turn on the microphone.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to remind you that you're still under oath.
Yes, ma'am.
Before the conclusion of the last session, we discussed the first demonstration by the soldiers returning from ECOMOG tour of duty in Liberia. I just wanted to ask you one more question about that. You told us that it was a company that went to Liberia.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall how many soldiers from that company actually took part in the protests?
It was just part of them, about under 30 of them, part of them.
And you told us that the leaders were identified, dismissed, others were charged.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You also told us that at the time of the return of the second contingent, it was Major Mabajob who was in charge of the Gambia National Army.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us about the second protest by that second contingent?
Yes, the second contingent, too, when they came back, it was like history repeating itself. Still, they were also, their money was delayed, and they started to request for it. That was what led to their demonstration as well.
Is there a mechanism in the Army through which such complaints are channeled?
There should be. There is, yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
They have to follow the hierarchy. They have such complaints, they should channel it through their platoon sergeants, who will then take it to their, at company level, to be dealt with at company level. Company sergeant major, who will then see his company commander, and then from there, if it's something that is beyond the company commander, he can then refer it to the battalion commander, who should be able to deal with it.
And how was the protest by the second contingent manifested?
It was similar to the first one. They were demanding for their monies. And because this thing was in progress again, very slowly being done at government level, and the soldiers were impatient again to wait for that. That's what led to their demonstration. This demonstration, actually, I was not on duty at the time, because I was in my preparations to go for my treatment to UK.
From your recollection, what happened during the demonstration? Because you were still in the country at the time that it started. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So what happened is I heard about the soldiers again making noise about their monies. And again, like I said on the previous one, without arms, nothing whatsoever, they find their way out of the camp and then head into Banjul. And I was told that Maba stopped them at the bridge.
When you say Maba, who are you referring to?
Commander Mabajob was able to join them there and then stop them there.
How did you know that it was Major Mabajob who stopped them from
I was told at the camp by the provost, I fully remember, yes.
Who was the provost at that time?
We had Provost Diba. Oh my God. I had a group of provosts. I can't recall their names, definitely.
To your knowledge, were the soldiers who took part in the second protest armed?
I was told two versions of it. Some said they were armed, firing on the air. Some said they were not. I could not confirm it.
So the soldiers went up to Denton Bridge, and according to you, it was Major Mabajob who stopped them.
Yes.
Do you know what happened after that?
They were brought back to the camp. The ringleaders were picked this time and then sent to Remind Wing in Mile 2. And then later, court-martial was organized for them to be tried, which I believe after some of them were discharged. At this time, I was in the UK.
Do you recall any of the names of these ringleaders?
No, ma'am.
So you said at the time of the court-martial, you were in the UK.
Yes, ma'am.
While you were in the UK, did the command of the Gambia National Army change?
At some point, yes, the commander of the Gambia National Army changed. Because I was in the UK. After some time, the British Army training team who was in town came back, went back, and then one of them met me, and I was told that they're back. And I asked why. They said because Nigerians took over, came and took over, and they have to leave. And I fully remember Major Allen said to me, if you want to settle down in the UK, we can help you settle down, because we know that if you go back, you will start having problems. I wanted to take the offer, but at the time, something just struck me that if I should stay and they needed to come back, I may not be able to. And after about 10, 11 years of service, 8, 9 years of service, I might as well go back and finish my army career and then decide what to do next. And then about a week or two later, I received a call from the Gambia embassy that Major Mabajob was looking for me. So I found my way to the embassy. When I met him, this was where we discussed what happened. He told me that he was relieved of his duties and was redeployed to the foreign mission, and he was attached to the Gambian embassy in Britain. And I wanted to know why. He said the Nigerians came. Instead of coming to train us, they came and took over the army. And then he went on to tell me that him being the army commander at the time, he was virtually stripped of all his authorities. Nothing was left. Well, he had problems with them, which led to government retire him and then redeploy him in foreign mission. One of the things he said to me was, remember, he said, even his guards, as a army commander, when they have been removed, he was not even informed. The vehicle he was using as army commander was taken away. Those are one of the things he told me. And he too told me, everyone saying that if you're back, you will have problem with the Nigerians. Don't go, you can stay. I said, no, I will go. I choose to come back.
If I understand your testimony correctly, Major Mabajob was resigned from the army in order to make way for the Nigerian commanders to take control of the army. Is that correct?
He was the commander. He was resigned because he disagreed with them a lot. And that led to his resignation or being discharged from the army.
Do you know what some of those disagreements were?
Well, what happened here is NATAG, Nigerian Army Training Assistance Group, came. I believe at the time, the army top brass, possibly they were not informed of exactly what their roles were. Memorandum of understanding maybe was not clearly stated as to what the Nigerians were here for or what they were here to do. So we at the time had the impression that they were here to train, but it looks like they took over command. And the fact that Maba Diop was the commander at the time, I personally believe that whoever was coming and heading that group was supposed to be working hand in hand with him, reorientate him as to what the role of army commander is to be, guide him the right places. But for him, that was not the case. Because what we later found out is from number 1 to 21, between 19 and 21 in hierarchy, the army was NATAC. And that's where the next most senior Gambia National Army officer started, who was Maba Diop. And for the Nigerians, they could not comprehend Maba Diop being our army commander, and his rank at the time was a major, to be holding that position. So what happened is, we have the we have General Dada as the army commander, plus few others in the headquarters, and all the battalions were headed by a Nigerian colonel. That's how it was.
You mentioned that it was about from number 1 to number 19 or 21.
Yes.
In terms of hierarchy, we're all Nigerian commanders.
Yes.
You mentioned that the battalions were headed by Nigerian commanders.
Yes, ma'am.
What about the 2 ICs of the battalion?
The 2 ICs of battalion, here is where you get the Gambian senior officers.
What about the companies? Were they headed by
Gambian senior officers.
Just a point of clarification, you mentioned that Major Maba Diop resigned or was retired from the army?
Yes, ma'am.
So he retired from the army?
Yes, ma'am.
You also mentioned the memorandum of understanding between the Gambia and Nigeria in relation to NATAC.
NATAC. So the senior officers in the Gambian National Army, I believe, didn't have a clear picture of the role of the NATAC.
Have you ever seen that agreement, the memorandum?
No.
Do you know if NATAC stands for, well, the A in NATAC, does it relate to advisory or assistance group?
It was supposed to be Nigerian Army Training Assistant Group.
So at the time that these changes took place, you were in the UK receiving treatment.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find out about this information while you were in the UK, or was it subsequently when you returned to the Gambia?
Subsequently, when I returned, I only found out what I found out, like I said, from Maba, when I went to meet him. And I remember he said to me, all of us are not for a single in a doubt that if you go back, you will have problem with these Nigerians.
Did he tell you why he thought that you would have problems with the Nigerians?
I believe it is because of the nature of who I was and how I operate as an RSM.
What do you mean by that?
Maybe with the little couple of weeks they work with the Nigerians, and knowing how I operate as an RSM, they thought that it will not, the two will not just complement each other.
How were you viewed as an RSM?
Will not tolerate injustice.
You told us, you've already mentioned that you're not very good with dates, and we've established how you came to learn a number of dates. In your statement, you mentioned that you sought medical treatment in 1992.
Yes, ma'am.
While you were in the UK, you told us that you spoke to Major Maba Diop.
Yes.
Did you speak to anyone else from the Army in relation to events that were happening back home?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us about that?
At some point, I received a call from Warrant Officer Class 2, Jibril Sey, who told me that they had a guard of honor, and before the guard of honor, General Dada assembled them and told them that he was a soldier more than anyone in the Gambian National Army. No one can scare or intimidate him. That they received a letter and their intelligence was pointing the letter as if it was me who wrote it. And God knows, I didn't even know what was happening. And in that letter, Dada told them that the individual is describing himself as if someone who's got control, who got command and control over the men, whatever he wants them to do, he can get it from them, and he, Dada, should be very, very, very careful because they're not accepted in the country. And then everyone was pointing fingers at me. I told him not to worry. Then they should go ahead and do whatever they are doing. I will sort out whatever I need to sort out when I come back.
Did he provide you with any other information about the contents of the letter in terms of the complaints that soldiers had at the time?
Not in detail, but from what he just told me, I understand exactly what it meant. Like, they were not, like whoever wrote that letter must have been a very disgruntled soldier or officer. Maybe trying to put a point across, but for whatever reason, put it in a way that the people who we knew each other, straight away start pointing the finger at me. Because for me, whatever is not right, as an RSM in the camp, I will challenge it. I'll make sure it's right, regardless, at any level. Because I had the means and the authority to able to challenge anything in the camp as an RSM.
And if I understand your testimony correctly, the disgruntlement was in relation to the presence of the Nigerians in Gambia. Is that correct?
Whoever wrote that letter, that is what he was directing at.
Apart from yourself, there were other RSMs at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
You told us that you were the most senior RSM.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying that it's because of the fact that you were the most senior RSM that fingers started pointing towards you as the most likely person to write the letter?
I wouldn't think it was because I was the most senior RSM. Maybe because my influence or the control I have, level of control I can have over the soldiers. Possibly that's why. Later in the testimony, I will elaborate why that letter was written.
So at the time, you were in the UK, and it's your testimony that you had nothing to do with that letter?
At all, nothing, absolutely.
Did you have any other conversations with any other soldiers while you were in the UK in relation to events back home?
No, ma'am.
Did you eventually come to know who wrote that letter?
Yes, ma'am. Subsequently, we found out that letter was wrote by one Captain Sonko, Captain Momodu Sonko. Why? I don't know.
How did you come to find out that it was Captain Momodu Sonko who wrote that letter?
from an insider.
Please elaborate. What do you mean by that?
After when the investigation was carried, it was later they found out that Captain Sonko wrote that letter, but addressed it as if it was me. But that letter was what set myself and the NATAC team apart.
Do you recall when you found out that it was supposedly it was Captain Momodou Sonko who wrote the letter? When did you find out about this?
When I came back.
So according to your statement, you returned to the Gambia in January 1993. Can you tell us about what happened upon your return?
When I returned back in January 1993, I was at home, and then I received a call that I had a letter at the Army headquarters. Went to pick the letter, had never met any of the Nigerians. Went into the chief clerk's office, Pt2. In the army, if a group of soldiers are sitting and a senior officer or senior man happens to walk in, the most senior will greet him on behalf of the rest. So I walked in, Jack greeted me, we were there, he introduced me to the boys who were in his office. As we were into our conversation, one colonel walked down, came into the office, and Jack called my attention because I was the most senior in the office, but not in uniform. That's the acting army commander. Then I asked all of them to brace up and keep still. Because I was not in uniform, I asked Ja to salute. Ja salute. To my surprise, the acting army commander didn't respond. And then he walked around me, and then I asked them to stand down and relax. He went back up to his office. The phone rang, and he said to Pt2, who is that man standing there? Said to him, that's RSM Jeng. Within minutes, we had him coming down, came to the office. Oh, RSM, welcome back. I said, thank you, sir. When did you come back? A couple of days ago, etc., etc. And then he said to me, when you finish what you're doing, you can come and see me upstairs. But before you come, your future commander is in that office. You can come and meet him. Here, I want to make a correction, Council. Say he told me that there was a rumor back to say that I was going to be transferred to Farafenye. Say he was the first one to tell me.
Did he tell you why?
No.
Just clarify a couple of things before you continue. You mentioned that you met an acting commander. What's his name?
Colonel Akoji.
You also mentioned a future commander.
Yes.
What is his name?
At this time, I don't know his name. I will subsequently tell you when I know his name.
Can you tell us just so we know who you're referring to, and then you can...
Colonel Akoji told me to go and meet someone in that office that he's your future commander, whom later I found out that his name was Colonel Saliu.
Okay, so upon your return, your first interaction was with Colonel Akoji?
Yes, ma'am.
Acting commander?
Yes, ma'am.
Then he told you that you should go and meet your future commander?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was Colonel Saliu.
Saliu.
Can you tell us about that?
I went to the door, knocked the door once, no one responded. Second time, no one responded. Third time, I knocked and opened the door and went in. Found a couple of them, about 6 of them sitting, having conversation. I looked at their pips and this most senior was Colonel Saliu. And I said, "Good afternoon, sir." He wouldn't respond. "Good afternoon, sir." He wouldn't respond. The third time, I said, "Good afternoon, sir. I'm talking to you." His reply was, "And who the hell do you think you are?" And then I replied back and saying, "And who the hell do you think you are, sir?" If I didn't say sir, I'm offending him. I said sir. And there is this culture in the military, when people of ranks are having problems, no one would want to be a witness. We have a name for it. We call it pull head. So the people in the room they don't know who I was. I was a mufti. They start leaving the room one by one. So he was very upset because I challenged him. He just got up and was going to the chief clerk, where we bumped on each other at the door. He went to the chief clerk to find out who I was. Chief clerk told him that that's RSM Jeng. He came back to me. To my surprise, just said, I've heard of you. And I said, "Then what?" He went upstairs to the acting army commander to report me. I followed him. When we got to the acting army commander's office, he went through the procedure to be announced in. I waited until he was announced. I, as an RSM, I don't need to be announced. When he got in, commander had two doors. One, that's where the general public use. The other door, that's him and the clerk. Whenever that door is knocked, he has to stop whatever he's doing and attend to that person. That's the door I would share. So when he was announced, he went in. I went directly to that door and I knocked it. Commander said, "Come in." I went in. Because of the little altercation we had downstairs and using the stairs to go up, we were both breathing heavily. Commander looked at us and said, "What happened?" He said, "It's about RSM Jeng," and I said, "It's about this colonel." Commander asked, I explained, and then he asked him, "Why would you treat your RSM like that?" And then it was there, the first time I had his name. He asked him, "Colonel Salu, you have to apologize." He apologized, I accepted it, and then Commander asked me, okay, to excuse them. He will come back and talk to me. Went downstairs. When they finished, acting commander came down to introduce me to the rest of the NATAC officers who were at the army headquarters at the time. And then after he did the induction, this was where he said to me, "This is going to be your commander. You'll be joining him in Farafenye."
Who was he referring to? What was the name of the colonel?
Colonel Akoji, the acting commander, said to me, "This is Colonel Saliu, is your future commander, that you will be joining him in Farafenye." And then I questioned, why Farafenye? He said, "Why am I asking?" Everything changed. I said, "Because I'm the most senior RSM. What am I going to do with Farafenye? Why am I being sent to Farafenye?" He wouldn't give me any explanation, but didn't want me to question it. I said, "No, I have to. Because if anything, I should be in the headquarters. I need to know why I'm going to Farafenye." It didn't go down very well. It was then, after that, I left and went home. The following day, I was summoned to the headquarters. I went back to the headquarters, and I was told that we need to go to Minister of Defense. They wanted me to join them in their vehicles, but I went with my vehicle. They didn't like what happened when we got to State House, because the guards there know me, and when I came, they gave me somewhere to park, etc. And then we went in to the permanent secretary's office, who was Suleiman Bunjak. When we were in Mr. Jack's office, we had a heated argument there about going to Farafenye. I told Mr. Jack that I am the most senior Gambian RSM. I should be in the headquarters, not Farafenye. Because at Farafenye, we had a battalion, but it was a skeleton battalion, not up to a battalion. It could have either be Yundum, where RSM 5 was already there. Is that the headquarters are supposed to be. Why Farafenye? Mr. Jack was very worried. I couldn't come up with the answers. Later, all he could give me was, Mr. Jeng, I want you to understand that when these people came, you people were vetted, especially those carrying ranks, and it was through their recommendation that I should be posted to Farafenye. I said, no, that's not enough for me. And I can fully remember telling Mr. Jack that you people are doing something that if we are not careful of, tomorrow when it comes, it's going to be on our heads.
Why did you say that? What were you thinking at the time?
Being the most senior RSM, why would they be sending me to Farafenye? There must be something more to it than they were telling me at the time. And with my experience and knowledge, especially with the soldiers, why moving me away where I'm most needed for my duties? You sending me to Farafenye, you're exiling me. I will not know what is happening in the units, especially where we had a full battalion in Yundo. And they needed to be kept on their toes. Sending me for Farafenye was not enough for me. And it was during this exchange of high-tone argument that we had a knock on the door. When he said, come in, it was the Vice President and the Minister of Defense, who was Sehu Sabali. And as soon as he came in, he said to Mr. Jack, the noise is too much in your office. And then what happened next was, as soon as Mr. Bunjak said to him, it was RSM Jeng that they brought here. To my surprise, the Vice President went straight to the point. Mr. Jeng, I said, yes, sir. And he said, hope it's not about going to Farafenye. I paused and said, yes, sir. He said to me, let's put it this way. You go to Farafenye. I'm on my way to UK, where you're just coming from. In a week or two's time, I'll be back, and then we'll get you here to discuss it and get down to the bottom of it. Very strange for me, but I have to accept it. And being our Vice President and Minister of Defense, I do not want to disagree with him in front of anybody else. I said, yes, sir.
You said that you were surprised by the fact that Mr. Sabali, as Minister of Defense, knew that you were to be sent to Farafenye.
Yes, ma'am.
Why was that surprising, considering his role?
Knowing that he is the Vice President, Minister of Defense, why would he bring himself down that low?
I would caution you, RSM, let's just focus on the facts of what happened.
Yeah.
And not be descriptive in terms of people's personalities. What I want to understand is, as Minister of Defense at the time, he knew that you would be deployed to Farafenni. Was that surprising that considering his role, he would know that fact?
Very, 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 very surprising. Deployment of RSM would not have nothing absolutely to even do with Bunjak, who was the permanent secretary, Minister of Defense, much more the Vice President and the Minister of Defense. Very, very, very surprising.
Was the Ministry of Defense, did it take any part in relation to the promotion of soldiers, movement of key personnel from one location to another?
Yes, but not RSM.
So please continue with your testimony. He said that he was going to the UK, and when he comes back?
Yes, ma'am.
Issue.
Then I said, yes, sir. And then everything ended there. We left back to the army headquarters. On reaching the army headquarters, we were standing together again in a group. There was there, then the army commander, acting army commander, asked Colonel Saliu, when I going back? I fully remember it was on a Tuesday. He said to him, I'm going back on Thursday. He can come and join me. We go together. And then I said to him, I'm not a foul to be just bundled and then taken to Farafenni. I need some time to prepare myself. We had a little bit of a disagreement there again. Acting commander intervened and then stopped us and then asked me, when do you think you can go back? At the time, I said, well, I will go on Friday. Then remember that I had no uniforms, etc. And then I put that across to the acting army commander. And then he said to me, unfortunately, we will not have vehicle to allocate to you. I asked to be given the fuel, and I will use my vehicle to go. They agree. And then I went home. On Wednesday, I was called to the army headquarters, and then the acting army commander got the quartermaster to start working on my uniforms, and it was on his instructions that I should stay till the following week when they completed the uniforms for me, etc. Now, I didn't go. It was their responsibility to inform Colonel Saliu that I was not coming as stipulated. On Friday morning, Monday morning, we do have what we call publication of Part 1 orders, where we put all information, like our news bulletin. So on this Part 1 order, there was a caption there from Colonel Saliu that RSM Jeng was on AWOL, that's absent without leave. When I was informed, I didn't say nothing because I know it was not going to go down well. And I was later told that the acting army commander was not happy with that. He immediately got him to send another publication to amend that. That you will never publish your RSM that he's on AWOL. So after a week, when I got I was told that I should go, the uniforms will meet me in Farafenni. And then I left because they were not completed. I went to Farafenni. And when I got to Farafenni, soldiers whom I found there didn't know who I was because they were selected in my absence. So they asked me to sit under the tree, which I took and which I did. I said, let me observe how the camp is being operated. I was under the tree there for almost about an hour before they went and get the sergeant to come and meet me. The sergeant came, he was worried. I said, no, don't worry, they were doing their duties. I asked him where Colonel Saliu is. I went with him to Colonel Saliu's office, where I found him sitting with Captain Abdoulaye Conte, Major Adamu, And then when I was coming, I fully remember saying in Wolof to Lai Conte, génn leen si, we started, ñu ngi ko dooree Banjul, fii lañ ko jekkale. And then I went, I saluted him.
Can you just translate that into English for us?
You people stay out of it. We started it in Banjul. This is where we're going to finish it.
What did you mean by that?
For Colonel Saliu, who have never seen me ever, for the first time he saw me, and then he started picking a fight with me. And the fact that even after the commander's intervention, he still chooses to go and publish me on absent without leave, I knew that there is more to it. There is more coming.
When you were sent to Farafenye, were you replaced as RSM of the army? Did someone replace you at the headquarters?
No, because it was one of the things I told them. Going to Farafenye, no one will be in the army headquarters. They said no one is going to be at the army headquarters because RSM Alajifai is at Yundum. But they had a Nigerian RSM who was at the army headquarters.
So this is still in 1993 when you went to Farafenye, because it was following your return from the UK. Did you eventually come back to either the army headquarters or Yundum?
Yes, ma'am. I was at Farafenye. After 2 weeks of the vice president's return, no one was said about my sending to Farafenye. And then I made a request to see the army commander and possibly the vice president, who was our minister of defense, for the explanation I was waiting for. And before I got a response, I was told that under no circumstances should I leave Farafenye to come down to the greater Banjul area without permission from army headquarters, which I found very strange.
Can you explain to us why you found it strange?
Even if private soldiers, lance corporal, corporals, sergeants, staff sergeants, and W2s can just get permission from their units and go as far as Banjul, why me? That really made me to make up my mind that I've got a fight with these Nigerians. Then I told Colonel Saliu, I asked permission of him, he wouldn't even discuss it. He wouldn't even discuss it. Before leaving Farafenye, I went to him and told him, I'm going to army headquarters because I'm still looking for answers. I went down to army headquarters, and then it was there I was told that then it was agreed that I, being the most senior RSM, should be posted to the training school in Farafenye, that they were going to organize refresher training for all ranks in the army, and because of my experience in the training wing, etc., that's where they think I will be best suited to be. I cannot disagree more. I accepted it, and they went back to Farafenye.
What led to you leaving Farafenye to go back to, well, to come back to the greater Banjul area?
A lot happened in Farafenye, if I may explain, ma'am.
Please proceed.
Whilst I was in Farafenye, I tried to bring back proper regimentation and discipline in the camp, which I had no problem with. And I remember having a disagreement with Colonel Saliu in his office, and then next door, less than 2 meters, it was a gap, but That is where the 2BN commander was, who was Colonel Odunsi. At Farafenye, we have the training school and 2 battalion, but under different command.
So 2BN meaning 2nd Battalion?
2nd Battalion. I remember one of our disagreements, Colonel Odunsi came to him and said, I've had all your conversation, you and the RSM. I'm going to let the commander know. If you cannot work with him, I would like to have him in my battalion. And then, before my uniform came, Captain Abdullah Conte was the one who borrowed me a uniform, camouflage uniform, which I was using. After 3 days, I went to Colonel Saliu and said, Sir, what are you doing for my uniforms to be here? I cannot continue in the same uniform. It was then like Conte intervened and said he was going to give me another uniform. The fact that he just intervened and said he was going to give me a new uniform, I didn't want it to go any further. And that was it. He borrowed me another camouflage uniform, which I used for almost a week or more. Accommodation, I was not given accommodation because I asked Colonel Salih, where is my accommodation? He could not say anything. We had a disagreement on that as well. Remember that day, he called the RSM, the Nigerian RSM in the camp, get him to go and prepare a room. They went and prepared the room. I came and I was instructed to go and see it. I went to visit the room, came back to him, and I told him that that's not where I should be as an RSM. And the room was within the corporals and sergeants. I said to him, that's not where I'm supposed to be. He said, what do I mean by that? I said to him, I am an RSM. RSM don't stay with his corporals or sergeants. And then I called upon all the sergeants in the camp at the time and asked of their living condition. And I was told that one of them was living within the corporals, which is very wrong. I hand him over those keys and told him that you've got the men with you. You have 2 hours to move your family in that room. If not, I will deal with you. I gave him the keys. He went and gathered his men, and they moved his family in that room. I went back to Colonel Salih and told him that I've issued that room to the sergeant. That's where he's supposed to be, and not me. And then it was repeated the second time again. I moved W2 to the subsequent room I was given within the sergeants. He can live with the sergeant W2 because they're all senior NCOs, senior non-commissioned officers. I did repeat it, that exercise again. And then I went to him and told him that wherever your RSM is, that's where I should be. This is because we do this in the army for discipline. Corporal stays together, sergeants together, warrant officers together. That's how the army living conditions are. So, because there was no other accommodation, and then Major Adamu, who was in the training school, I remember, intervened and said, because he is traveling to Nigeria, I can use his apartment until he comes back. Hopefully before then, it will be sorted, accommodation will be sorted out for me. I said, no, I'm not a commissioned officer. I should not be there. And they said I should go to the commander's guest house, which was a no-go for me, because if commander or any of that his equivalent happens to pass by unexpectedly, I would have to leave that night and look for somewhere. I said to him, with the fuss you were making for me to come to Farafenye, then it seems that nothing was prepared for me. When Major Conte, Captain Conte at the time to intervene, I went and shared the accommodation with him. After 2 weeks, I came to Colonel Saliu and said to him, after I finish conducting detailed parade today, I will go back to headquarters and you will tell Commander why I went back. And then that was it. So it was when we were conducting the detailed parade, I saw 2 trucks coming from Yundum, yes. The lead driver was Sunkar Baju, Aina we call him. He came, we were at the parade ground, he came, drove the 2 trucks round us. They said to bring these things for you. I said, no, go and report to Colonel Saliu. He took them, went to Colonel Saliu, and then handed him over. And then found out that he was called from headquarters and given instruction that wherever the Nigerian RSM is, I should be next to him.
He was given that instruction by who?
No, that instruction was given to Colonel Saliu from Army headquarters, I believe from the Army commander.
You told us that Colonel Akoji was the acting Army commander.
Army commander, yes, ma'am.
Who was the actual Army commander at the time?
It was General Dada.
Did that instruction come from General Dada?
Could be from General Dada, but I believe it's Akoji, not Dada.
So we understand that there were many problems between you and the Nigerian commanders, especially Commander Saliu in Farafenye. At some point, was Colonel Dada changed?
Sorry, ma'am. Yeah, before we get to Colonel Dada's change, we were in Farafenye, conducted a couple of series of training. And I remember either the second to the last one or the last one, General Dada was invited because we had it was supposed to be a fieldcraft exercise, bush training. And when he came, when we were ready to go out for exercise, soldiers were gathered waiting for their arms and blank ammo that we were going to use to be issued to them. I went to find out where the armory key was, and it was not there. I started asking questions. No one could tell me where it was. And that really, really made me go furious to find out where the key was and who took it. Because when to the book, no one signed for it. But later, one of the Nigerian senior NCOs came with the key. I asked him why did he took the key and who authorized him to take the key without signing it. He could not give me any explanation. Just because of that, I said, I'm not going into the armory because I don't know what happened in there. Until when Major Adamu came, and then we all went in. When we went into the armory, I saw something very strange. I found empty boxes of live ammunition littered on the floor. I wanted to know why and who was in there. No one would give me any explanation. And because it was getting late for us to go out for the exercise, I just took the blank ammo we need, which I was supposed to be controlled while the exercise progresses, and then did something very unusual. I told the soldiers that normally you will just issue them out with what they need for each exercise, I told them instead, I'm going to issue out everything in the camp before we leave. And they will have to control what they use as the exercise progresses. They asked me, why am I doing that? I said, no one should ask me that question. I'm responsible. That was done. We left for the exercise area. When we got there, troops moved out. I set up the headquarters. It was supposed to be one, but I didn't want it to go anywhere near the Nigerians. Because for me, I started sensing that something is happening. I picked out a tent, that's where we were, for the headquarters. Until at night, I was supposed to go back to the camp to bring the dinner, and then the few things we needed, which we left behind. When I called for the driver, he came, and 1 or 2 people to go and get the dinner. As the driver started moving, about 50 to 75 meters in front of us, we were stopped by one Sergeant Garba. He's a Nigerian. I said to him, where are you going? He said he wants to pick something for General Dada at the camp. I said, okay, jump in. Went to the camp, collected the dinner, collect all that I wanted to collect. He never dropped to pick or collect anything. When we left the camp, to the Farafenye main Johnson, turn left, going towards the mosque. That's where Eddie's is, Eddie's nightclub. He said, sir, can I go and buy some drinks for the commander? I said, what drinks? He said, beer and Guinness. I said to him, do you people take alcohol out for your exercise areas? He said, that's what the commander wants. I said, okay. He went into Eddie's, came back empty-handed. I asked him why. He said they wouldn't allow him to take their bottles without guarantee. I went in because I knew the people there, and then be the guarantor, we left. Just before we...
Just a quick question. Did this take place in 1993 or 1994? Are we still in 93 or?
93, going, okay. Yeah, 93. It was the end of 93.
Okay. Can we go through this quickly because I have a lot of questions to ask you in relation to the subsequent events?
When we were just about to leave Farafenye, behind the mosque, heading to Belingo, that's where we were having the exercise, he said to me, sir, can I talk to you? I said, okay, but he wanted us to go down. When we came down, went back of the Land Rover, he said to me, sir, something is happening I want to call your attention to. I said, what's that? He said to me, we've been working with you, we know you, but just be more careful. I said, why? He took out his magazine from the AK-47 and showed me the chamber, and live round was already engaged in the chamber, and the magazine contains 30 ammunition. It was all live. I asked him, why do you have this out here? He said, it's 2 of them, him and Sergeant Injitita, who was asked to keep an eye on me, that I may decide or choose to do anything to General Dada.
Did they tell you who asked them to keep an eye on you?
Well, must be from the commander. But they were instructed, given life round. Why? When we go to exercise, no one takes life round. Why do they choose to take that? This clear this thing as to why the Amorikis was taking. So I said to him, do you know what? carry out your duties as they were given to you, your orders as they are given to you. And let no one knows that you spoke to me. We went to the bush. The boys came for their dinner and then left to continue their exercises. Round about 10, 11 at night, there was this soldier called Marong, had an ankle problem. It was even swollen. Came, was supposed to be with me in the tent. But I said to him, Marong, can you do me a favor? I know you're in pain, but can you go back to your platoon and stay there with them until tomorrow? I will take you to the camp. He said to me, no problem, sir. Yes, sir. He went. I didn't want anybody to stay with me in the tent. I was in the tent around about 1, 2 in the morning, almost fall asleep, and then Captain Laikonte came and then just kicked me. I jump up, say, people are in the bush doing all sort of things and you're here being guarded. What's happening? I said to him, what are you talking about? And then I said to him, hold on. I went out as if I was going to wee, and then this sergeant jumped, who was this time Injitita on one side of the tent, Sergeant Garba the other side of the tent. I went back into the tent. I then explained to Laikonte what happened, and then told him that this is why I don't want anybody in the tent. If I had my way, you will not be here. I was supposed to go back to the camp round about 4, 5 to pick the breakfast for the soldiers, ready for the dawn attack, but I choose not to go out of the tent. Stay in the tent until the sun was right out there. Everybody said that if I should walk out, everybody will see me. The soldiers didn't have their breakfast in time that day. I did that for my own safety, because here now I suspected that something is happening, I don't know. Then I choose to do that.
So at some point you left Farafenye and came back to Greater Banjul area. Can you tell us how that happened?
It was after this incident. Again, sorry, just one quick explanation here. When we went back to the camp, General Dada, for whatsoever reason, they wanted to entertain him. They came to me to borrow them videotapes, because I was just coming from UK. I had a lot of tapes that I was borrowing soldiers. The sergeant they sent, I was sitting under the tree. I said to him, go inside and pick whatever you want. He went and found a tape, which was a documentary. 1 in every 5 female prisoner in Holloway, UK, was a Nigerian. I didn't tell him what it was about. He chose it, took it. When they played it, straight away, Colonel Saliu sent Major Adamu to come to me and say, why did I choose to give them that videotape? I was very mad. It was until after, when I explained to Major Adamu what happened, he went and called the sergeant. The sergeant said, no, I didn't give it to him. He went and chose it. I just directed him where it was. Now, continue in Farafenye. At some point in 1994, early 1994, I was in Farafenye doing my normal duties, and then Colonel Saliu sent for me. I came back to answer to him, and I found the phone was already on the table, off the hook. And he said to me, that's your call. I picked the call. Someone at the other end said, is the RSM Jeng? I said, yes, sir. He introduced himself as, I am Colonel Lawan Gwadebe, the new army commander. What are you doing in Farafenye? I said, I don't know, sir. He said to me, I choose you to be my RSM, and I want you to report the army headquarters immediately. I shouted to the top of my voice, yes, sir, and then put the phone down. went out of the office and then went back in and asked permission to use the phone. Salif said, okay. I called back and asked him if he can give me a week or a couple of days so that I could do proper handing over in Farafenye before coming down. He said, take your time. If you need vehicle, let me know. I'll send you my vehicle. That was how I did everything in Farafenye. The soldiers did a center for me, the people from the town, etc., etc. And then later, that was how I came down to the headquarters.
So in 1994, you had a new colonel, Gwadebe, who took over command of the army. Where was General Dada?
At this point, General Dada's tour of duty finishes, and his country needed him to go back, and he chose not to go back and stayed in the country.
Did that create any difficulties in relation to command of the Gambia National Army?
100%.
Please explain it to us.
For the simple fact that he's a general, and the original NATAC that was in the country, they were under his command. They had more loyalty to him than the newly commander that came, because he was recalled to go back. He didn't. He stayed in the country, and these guys were in touch with him. Whatever they're doing, whatever they doing, they contact Dada. Gwadebe came to the country. No one went to receive him at the airport. He found his way to either Senegambia or Kairaba and checked in himself there. And he was very, very, very furious about that. Dada's presence in the country, I don't know if it will be right now for me to say, is what led us to be where we are today, why we are here today.
We will come back to that particular point. Right now, I would like to fast forward a bit to we are in 1994, and at some point, there were rumors of coup d'etat in the Gambia. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us what you know about those rumors?
They were in different categories. One, we had a group of senior officers who were very reckless and selfish at times in the conversation they choose to have in bars and nightclubs after getting drunk, bragging, using language that would lead to people saying there is coup. I remember I had numerous visits at the camp by the then army commander, who was Colonel Mamadou Ndaw Njai, trying to find out what is happening, because his attention was called as to whether there is a rumor of coup or not. I will go with him to the camp. He will see and confirm for himself that there is nothing of that sort happening.
This was during Colonel Ndaw Njai's tenure as
this was during Colonel Ndaw Njai's tenure.
Okay.
This rumor of coup was, we were always with it. And that was not only from the army, across from the army, Zandam as well.
Can you tell us about the rumors of coup upon your return from Farafenye?
Yes. This particular one, I was at the army headquarters, hardly come to contact with the NATAC officers who were there, because Guadebe was the one who summoned me to come down, and I was waiting for him to take over office for us to get on with business. One time, I saw a corporal called Kopul Mudfal Jame, who would walk into the army headquarters and went straight up to the intelligence commander's office. And then a little bit later, the former director of NSS, Keba Sise, he's late now, will walk in, go through the normal signing in, and then go in to join the officer there.
At the time, he was still director of
NSS.
NSS.
Yes, ma'am.
Please continue.
After a couple of visits, I went to the guard room and said to the duty sergeant, who was Sergeant Faraba Sabali, that if that couple comes here again without passing through my office, I'm going to deal with you. The following day...
Just a point of clarification. You mentioned that Modufa Jame would walk in and see the intelligence officer.
Yes.
What was the name of the intelligence officer?
Major Maman.
Please continue.
And the following day, Mulfal Jame came, and then Sergeant Sabali stopped him and asked him where was he going to. He said he was going to see Major Maman. He said to him, are you going to pass by RSM's office? He said, no, I was told not to speak to the RSM. Faraba Sabali ordered him to go in. And then he was detained in the cells there in the guard room. After 2 hours, he told Faraba Sabali to bring him to me for explanation. He came. I said to him, what are you doing in the army headquarters when you're supposed to be the camp with your unit? He said he was told not to speak to me. And I say, by who? He said, by the acting army commander and Major Maman.
What is Major Maman's nationality?
Nigerian.
Okay. You mentioned that Mofa Jame was from a particular unit. Which
he
unit?
was from the engineering squadron.
Please continue.
And then I asked him what was his mission coming in and out. He was the one who told me that he was accused of leaking a coup plot somewhere in Birkama, that he was sitting within a group of women, and he told them that if the head of state, the former head of state, His Excellency Sadauda, is coming, the soldiers are going to effect a coup at the airport, and they may even shut the plane down before landing. That was very surprising for me to hear, and I asked him, did you say it? He said, no, I repeated it for 3 times. I said to him, they said, if your hands put you in trouble, your mouth can bail you out. But if your mouth puts you in trouble, you have to cut your neck off. Did you say it? He said, no. Then I said to him, from today, I don't want to see you here. Go and stay at the camp with your unit. Leave the camp. He went back.
Do you recall when this took place? How close was it to the events of 22nd July 1994? Was it a matter of weeks, days, or months, to your recollection?
Months.
Okay.
I was about 2 months. So, I went upstairs to meet Major Maman to find out what was going on for them to be dealing with a corporal, and I, as the RSM, would not know. His reply was, he doesn't know, I should be very careful. Sorry, before I went, Major Maman came down to my office to find out if the couple was there. because this time Kebasisi has already walked in. I told him that I sent him back to the camp. It was in my office where he said to me, you have to be very careful. He went up, I went and followed him. The acting army commander came, we were there with Kebasisi. And I start questioning why would an investigation be taking place that I would not know or be part of. If anything, I know these men more than them. And an accusation of that magnitude, I should be involved to support it. And I was told to be very careful.
So
it's
just
not
to
my business. I should be very careful.
Just to be clear, at this meeting it was yourself, Major Maman, Kebasisi of NSS,
and Colonel Akoji.
And Colonel Akoji. Okay.
Then I went back to my office, and that was the last time that kind of meeting took place at the headquarters with Mulfal Jame coming down.
At the time that Colonel Akoji was in that meeting, basically acting commander, where was General Dada and where was General Guadebe? Were they in the country?
This time, General Dada was not coming into work because he was already relieved. He was at home. Guadebe was in town but haven't resumed office yet.
So essentially there was a vacuum and Colonel Akoji was acting.
I think the reason why Colonel Guadebe didn't take over office was they were trying to settle it out at government levels rather than having to. Definitely Dada was interfering. And for him, he has to step aside to get them to sort it out.
How do you know that Dada was interfering?
He was talking to the people who were running the army at the time, and the Minister of Defense.
And you were present at the army headquarters during that time?
Yes, I was in the army headquarters.
So after this particular...
This happened just about a week. Within a week, or the second week, I remember Colonel Guadebe came, and then we had a meeting, myself and him, lengthy meeting, discussed a lot. His aims, what he wants to do. And then it was there we agreed that we'll start with tour of all the units.
At that point, did you make Colonel Guadebe aware of what was happening, or do you know if he was aware of the rumors that were circulating?
No. We didn't get to that.
Okay.
And then I remember when we went around to tour the barracks, we went to Yundum barracks. After touring the camp, we had about 6 40-foot containers sitting outside there, which were all of them were contained support weapons, explosives, and uniforms. It was a gift we got from China. And at the same time, armories were already built for the weapons to be moved in, but whatsoever reason, they left them still in the containers. Now remember, Colonel Guadebe asked the question, what is in these containers? And everybody kept quiet. He asked the second time, I told him that, sir, we had support weapons and explosives and uniforms in those containers. He was furious. Why would those be left in a container sitting there? And asked if we don't have any facilities to put them in. I found the armories, and that says there are new armories, that's where they're supposed to be. And he was very mad. He turned around to the Nigerian senior officers and said, and you people call yourself professionals, and you allow these things to happen. And he said to me, RSM, I'm going back to make my final report. Before I'm back, all these things supposed to be moved in there. You take my vehicle, come here and see if it's been done, and let me know on my return.
Was that done? Were the weapons and ammunition put in the armory?
They were moved, but very slowly.
Prior to 22nd of July 1994, were they put in the armories?
Not all of them were put into the armories before 22nd July 1990.
Where were the rest of the weapons? Were they still in the container or
Some in
elsewhere?
the container, some already been moved to the armories.
This is a good time to stop, where we will move on to the events of 21st July when we come back after the break. Mr. Chairman, I cede the floor to the commissioners for further questions.
Thank you very much, Council, and thank you, Mr. Jang. I have a very short, quick question. Earlier in your testimony, you made reference to memorandum of understanding between the government of the Gambia and the government of Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
And the Council asked them if you had seen a copy of that memorandum. Your answer escaped me. Can you please just remind me, did you see a copy of it? Is there a copy that exists somewhere?
No, sir, I didn't see it, because for such a level of communication or document, it will be at the command level. Possibly the Army Commander or Minister of Defense would only be in the position for such.
Thank you very much.
What I was trying to say there is, as the Gambian side was concerned, maybe, which I believe caused a lot of friction, is proper explanation was not given to our officers as to the NATAC role. It was not defined for them properly, their role in the country, which later we found out that it caused a lot of problems.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kinte.
Commissioner Kinte.
Yes, sir.
RSM, I remember you said the first mutiny was a result of delay in the payment of allowances to soldiers who went to Liberia. And a similar thing happened not long after. Do you think, why do you think the soldiers wouldn't have, upon return, after serving so many months in that hard condition, not have their allowances paid to them? And indeed, when they only peacefully went out to express their dissatisfaction and disgruntledness, only to be sent out and dismissed from the service. Don't you think all of this and the narratives we are finding cumulatively may not have been the background of the popularity of the coup among the men?
Yes, sir. What happened is, as far as the military is concerned, we have chain of command that we should follow for whatsoever happens. If there is any grievance, any dissatisfaction, there is a way to channel it. We cannot break that protocol. And soldiers knows that. But the problem we have is, this is an army that's been run by civilians who doesn't know how the military operates. For sending soldiers to a battlefield, you would have expected them to even get their salaries or all allowances before they come back. But when they come back, whatever is delaying it should have been communicated properly to them, but that didn't happen.
Do I come in, please?
Yes.
What you're saying is the lack of professionalism at the level of the hierarchy, particularly like the Minister of Defense has
Yes.
never had any military experience.
Yes.
the permanent secretary neither had any military experience.
Yes.
And maybe there are a number of them along the lineup who were lay people as far as security and military service is concerned. So that was a wrong way of managing the defense ministry. Is that what you suggest?
Exactly, sir.
Okay.
Government could have got help after, I believe, personally, when Colonel Ndaunjai was relieved, rather than sending him for diplomatic mission, this country could have used him at the Ministry of Defense as the Chief of Staff, whatever, to help guide them, the establishment of the army and how to put things in place. But that didn't happen.
Thank you. Mr. Yang, you're not suggesting that ministers of defense anywhere must be from a military background?
Not necessarily. Oh, sorry, sir. Yeah. Not necessarily, but it is very important for him to have a military background. And one of the things we are suffering here in this country up to now is the army is being micromanaged by civilians who have no idea, no clues as to how the army should be. And up to now, the same mistakes have been made and repeated.
Thank you. Commissioner Carr?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Carr, I would like to know what your assessment of the conditions of service in the Army at that time were.
Not perfect, but were accepted by soldiers, and we were managing because I know the morale of soldiers at the time was very high. Like the food, you people must have had the water chew already, but it became one of our favorite diets. That soldiers, when they go out, they will get their colleagues to make sure they receive their food in their absence. The living conditions was not perfect, but we accepted it that we as soldiers, we have to. I can give an example. Remember, one time His Excellency was invited to come to the camp to see our living conditions. He came with a very big delegation, and I remember in each ministry, director or permanent secretary was part of that delegation. And then 2 days before the visit, I was instructed to go to Fajara barracks and then borrow extra mattresses, blankets, etc., to cover the visit, which I say, yes, sir. But later instruct all my sergeant majors to make sure our daily routine of cleaning the camp, maintaining cleanliness, etc., was carried out. And then the rest, they should leave it with me. Until 24 hours before the visit, commander called me and said, have you gone to get those extra things we requested for? I said, not yet, sir, but I will go. He left it at that. Until the very day of the visit, Sadauda came, we did the quarter guard, went to the commander's office. Before he started the inspection, he was briefed, came out to do the camp inspection. I remember we started the guard room. I make sure what was in the guard room, everything is clean and tidy, and then for him to see for himself exactly what was there. And that's what I did. I could see my commander was very, 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 very fuming at the time that his instructions were not carried. It was carried, but differently. So, they asked about the missing mattresses also. I explained why, and then we start moving. Went to the armory, visited the armory, I told them about the condition and state of the arms. That was before we have the containers. That we didn't have enough serviceable arms to meet all the soldiers, should in case we had an emergency also. And then from there, we went, as we were proceeding inside the camp, we saw a bull that was crossing the camp. They asked why. Then I said, I waited because when we were moving next to the toilet. We went to the toilet. We had only 1 or 2 toilets and 1 shower at the time. Then I told them that this is why they saw the bull passing through, because the soldiers have to open the fence. That was why after we placed a sentry there, whenever they need to ease themselves, they pass through the fence to the bushes. We went round to the dormitories where they saw them for themselves. Some of the soldiers, I was very lucky to have some of the soldiers coming back from exercise. They were lying on bare spring, some of them on the floor, on their blankets, and that I give explanation. By the time we went to the cookhouse, it was lunchtime. Some of the soldiers were eating, but in this big tomato paste tin. That's where they're having their lunch. Not enough medicines. So when we got round, finished the inspection, Sir Dawda, everyone could notice him, was not happy at all. Remember, there was a lunch organized for him at the officers' mess. He said no, he will not have that lunch. And he was asking a lot of questions. And then remember, after that visit, I was summoned to the office by the commander, and then the British Army training team were there. I went, and he wanted explanation. I told him that, sir, if I was to go to Bakau and borrow those things, and Sadauda came, he will never know our problems. And I did it for them to know that this is the condition, the situation we are in, so that our problems could be solved. The British commander shook my hand, British Army training team commander shook my hand and said to him, he's saving you. I remember immediately after that, $6 million was awarded for the rehabilitation and refurbishment of the camp to improve conditions. This is where we have problems. Only, I believe, 1/3 of the money was released. Was only 1 dormitory that was refurbished, and then we choose to make it the QRF, Quick Reaction Force, QRF, so that soldiers on standby would use it. We had a TV, etc., for them there. The rest of the money never came, refurbishment never took place. Hope that gives you the answer, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Jain. Any questions? If none, we will take a 1-hour break and come back at 2:40 later on. Thank you all very much. My meeting is adjourned.